Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is James, aka TheComicRaider, and we are back here with another movie review. This time we are doing Black Phone 2, a highly anticipated movie for myself. I really enjoyed the first one, and I was very excited to see where we were going with this second one. After the trailer, I was like, okay, definitely got some Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. This is going to be interesting. But I was still, again, I love the first one. I was really, really excited about this one. So now we're going to get into it. So, first things first, this will be non spoiler and then spoiler at a later point. So let's go ahead and get into the non spoiler. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it is right there on par with the first one. I think that if you liked the first one, you'll like this one. But at the same time, interestingly enough, this was also the kind of movie where I can look at it and go, I could also see people totally disliking it. I could see people thinking this is better than the first. I could see people like me who think it's like right there, and then I could see people thinking it's completely worse than the first. Because it's just different. It felt quite a bit different. But for me, I enjoyed it. Like, this is my kind of movie, and that's why I think I definitely would have it higher than others. But it's, again, to me, it's like right there, which is great for a sequel. For a sequel to be right there with the first, if not better, that's always a win, I think, for everybody. So I really enjoyed it. All the cast comes back, so that was really nice, and it really made the story that much better. And I think that overall, the characters, the story, the why of is everything happening is really well done, and those are the things that I truly, truly enjoyed. And so rating wise, I mean, I gotta say I was kind of in the 3.5 range, and then the third act and the ending really got me to a 4 out of 5. And that's my initial take on it. Obviously, subject to change, but I'm really comfortable with that rating. Again, I really enjoyed it, but this is my kind of movie, so I do recommend it, and especially if you like the first one. I do also believe this is the kind of movie that you kind of do have to watch the first one. It's not, even if you do understand everything that happens in this one, it is just not going to hit the same, even remotely close. This movie deals with the aftermath of the first one, and so it's a must see, really. But I guess that's it for non spoiler. I just really, really enjoyed it. That simple. But again, you know, if you like the first one, then I think you'll enjoy this one. But it's also a different kind of movie. And so, but yeah, I still recommend to check it out, for sure. So now, we're going to get into non-spoiler. So, I'm sorry, we're going to get into spoiler. Spoiler. This movie, for me, was like, just a, I'm not going to say perfect sequel, but just a great sequel. It deals with, it's exactly where this story in particular needed to go, or it was the only way that it could have went for it to like really be solid. It picks up, all your characters are picking up from the first one. You've got Finney, who is dealing with everything in violence and getting high. Starting off the movie, well, there's the initial scene, but then it starts off coming back to Finney with him getting into a fight at school, and then he tells his sister everything that Robin in the first one pretty much told him about fighting and like why he did what he did. So you realize that like he's different now. After this is like 3-4 years after the first one, and then next thing you know, he's like smoking weed a lot, and you're like, okay, so he's coping with this in that way, not the greatest way. And then you have Gwen, who's kind of dealing with it in her own way. And then their dad is on like his redemption arc. Their dad is now sober and he's not beating them and he's just really trying to be better, but he's also kind of just like totally letting them do what they're going to do at this point. And you have a new character, which is Robin from the first one. It's his little brother, but it's played by the same actor. So he's now in it. And then you have the Grabber, and even the Grabber. This is continuing off right where he left off. He's dead. How is he, back in this movie kind of thing? But so then you have, Gwen starts having these dreams. She sees a new group of kids that are like floating underneath a frozen lake, and one thing leads to another. She talks on the black phone to her mom. And this leads her to a church camp where her mom used to go. And from there, now is when you start getting the why. And you start getting all of this research and like, how did we end up here? Meanwhile, there's all this stuff going on with Gwen constantly dreaming. She's more the main character this time around. And it's her and her dreams. And seeing these multiple kids, and like, obviously that it's the Grabber, but like, why is she seeing them again? Why is this happening? And this is where I think the movie either loses you or like sucks you in, because in doing all of this, like, why are we here? Why is she seeing these kids? Who are these kids? Were they killed by the Grabber? When were they killed by the Grabber? What's going on? All of that, if you're like really invested into this series and you care about these characters and you like are into research and discovery and mystery in a movie, then you're gonna really enjoy it. But if you're not, and you kind of wanted more of a jump scare, slasher, a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of thing, that's not really what you're gonna get. Like, it is giving you Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, because yes, he's doing stuff in the dream that is affecting her in real life, but there's like so much more going on outside of that. And so that's where I think this movie will lose people, because some people are not going to want to see that. And in the trailer, I think I only saw the first one. I don't know if I saw more trailers after that, but if I did, it was pushing heavy on like jump scare, action, him doing this, him doing that, da 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 da. And so you're thinking that this is like a very like fast-paced jump scares slasher, but in the dreams, and like all this stuff is gonna go on. And that's not really what you get. I mean, everything that happens in the trailer does happen in the movie, but it's like spaced out. And it flows so much differently than the trailer is going to lead you to believe. It is more of a slow burn kind of movie with a couple of things happening here or there, lots of exposition, again, of the why. But that's where I say, this is my kind of movie. I love that stuff. I love mystery. I love research. I love discovery. I love all of that. Who done it? Like, I mean, in this case, you know who did it, but like, why, how, when, all those kind of things. Like, that's my kind of movie. And that's why I think myself and many others are going to really enjoy this movie a lot more than other people will. But that's where I think the trailer really steers you wrong. In what you may or may not be expecting. But for me, again, it was exactly where this story needed to go. How is the Grabber back? But then again, it's not that far-fetched. I mean, the whole point, the first one is all about these dead kids who are reaching out. They're not, in heaven or hell, and they're trapped, and they're reaching out through this phone, and Finney's able to talk to them. And so the supernatural element was always there. Him, well, I guess he never really saw them, but like them appearing on the screen, you, the viewer, see them. Like, that was always there. So now this is just, again, a great sequel in progressing the story. Now we're gonna take that. Now we're gonna turn it up a notch. Now the grabber's dead, but if all those kids died and never fully died, then why would we think that him dying was going to be any different? So of course he now has the ability to come back. Now even then, though, he mentions that it took him a long time to be able to have the power to do so. And so I just think like all of that was great. I thought Ethan Hawke as the grabber, this time around, like, you never see his face. If you do, it is just completely mangled. I mean, I guess you don't really see his face too much in the first one because he has the really, different pieces and masks. But I think that just makes Ethan Hawke even greater because he just is invested into this character, even though, you're gonna remember the mask, not him or his face. But I just think that this is exactly where the story needed to go, and so I was pleasantly surprised with how well I enjoyed the story progressing. Now, I do think you end it here. Do not make a third one. It doesn't need it. I think that you make these two movies and then you call it, and then we end up with two really solid movies, and but yeah, character-wise, I mean, again, all the actors do such a great job. I really enjoy Finney's character and his progression of where he was in the first one to now who he is now. And there's a lot of elements to it. You on face value, he's tougher, he's badass, he's this, he's that. But really, he's scared. And there's a moment in the scene where he really breaks down and, like, he is scared. He's fearful of losing his sister, like, all of that. The dad, everything, the some of the other things I really liked is, again, learning the why. How did we get here? You got here because this gift that Gwen and her mother have, and now them intertwining in this movie was such a great way to, again, move the story forward. And then we're also here because we have to find these kids, and then you get the when. Like, when did this happen? And that is a great setup to me of piecing all these things together. How is the grabber here? When did this happen? All of that is really, really enjoyable to me. All the scenes with the mother, learning more about the mother in this one, learning more about the grabber in this one, kind of more, not like full-fledged origin. I mean, I guess it is, but just way more background. It really, really just, again, is exactly what I wanted. And so I really appreciate the movie for that. Not a ton of jump scares. There was one really solid one, granted that I saw it in JBX, which is my theater surround boosted one that I talk about all the time. And so it really, like, just the volume alone made you jump. But there's that, and just emotion in general, right? So you have a couple of jump scares, but I don't think it's nothing too crazy. And then you have that, you laugh. There's a couple, like, funny moments. The boy picking up Gwen, and the dad and the brother being total dad and brother vibes watching them. A moment where Gwen and the boy are laying down and are pillow talking, and then Finney interjects, and then a conversation about weed. And so it was just, there's funny, and then I'm going to be completely honest. I teared up at this movie. I teared up at the end. I'm just going to say it like it is. I did. This movie, just like the first one, is about kids and what they're dealing with. It's about this family, the brother, the sister, the father, the mother who's passed away, and everything that they've dealt with. And you get a really, again, spoiler, you get a really nice, beautiful, touching moment at the end of the movie with this family that just, it got me. It got me a little teary-eyed, not even gonna lie. No, I was not full-fledged crying, okay? But I did get teary-eyed, which for that to happen in a horror movie, I think is an outstanding job. I also got, like, I don't know the word for it, but, in the third act where things really took off, and solidified the 4 rating for me, because I really enjoyed that final scene, the final showdown, and then leading into the ending scene. But the final showdown and Finney and the Grabber and their finale in this one, like, you just get almost like goosebumps. It just is that feeling of like, yes, that was so satisfying, gratifying, badass, violent, very violent, but like, yes, Finney, yes, we did it again. And it just, I loved that. So the emotions that the movie's able to bring out, I think, is really well done, and I really, really enjoyed that. I do like the new characters that we get. You know, everyone who was at the camp, because like you get your funny interactions with them. You also get, you know, the one who's running it, Mondo in the movie. He, you know, his whole character being really well done, and like I enjoyed him in there, and so I just really liked that. So the new characters were good. Now, one thing I will say, here's one of my gripes. It's not even a gripe. Yeah, it's not a gripe. But one thing that I do want to mention is, you know, going back to the family and the characters. One of the things that really made the first one really funny, and I loved it, was Gwen's character and her mouth, her potty mouth. But part of, I think, the allure and the charm of that, and what made that so funny, is that she was a little kid. She's a little kid using the most vulgar language and insults, and so it was really funny. Now, you know, she's, I'm gonna guess, like, what, 16? I don't know, high school, I think. Because her and Finney are going to the same school. So yeah, so she's got to be, like, she's definitely in high school. So she's, you know, 15, 18, in that range. I don't know. Point is, it doesn't hit the same. Her lines, her, all her vulgarness, it just didn't have the same effect for me this go round. There was a couple that were good, but it doesn't have the same effect. And I really do think most of that is just because now she's older. So now it's just like, she's just a foul-mouthed character, and it doesn't hit the same because it's not a kid that was doing that anymore. So that was one thing that definitely stood out to me. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way, but I just didn't hit the same. But to that point, you know, her going back and forth with Barbara, that was great. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the Grabber and the effects and, like, his powers, I guess we would say, you know, throughout, and him coming back, and you know, the whole, like, the mask and his face peeling and all that. I just thought he looked really, really cool in this one. But yeah, and then you know, the whole dream sequences and going and doing the old school film filter kind of thing, which is a staple in the director Scott Derrickson. You know, for Sinister, then The Black Phone, and now in this one, like, that's just a staple that he just loves to do, and I love that because I think it looks really cool. So being able to, you know, navigate the dream sequences to the real by doing that was a really nice touch, and fading in and out of it for Gwen and everything. It just, I thought that was really well done. The music was great throughout the movie. It just, again, I really did enjoy this movie. I think that kind of covers everything. Again, it's a different shift of a little bit from the first, but definitely from the trailer, I would say. And it is just more heavy on the research and figuring out why and how and everything like that. But again, it pays off. Like, I really enjoyed finding out everything about this story, the backgrounds of everyone, how we ended up here. And then you know, the Grabber is there's a lot more gore and blood in this one than in the first one. So keep that in mind. There's some stuff that happens, it's not on no Terrifier level, but there's some stuff that happens that was really cool. And yeah, I just, I really, really enjoyed it. Again, I think it just was a great, great sequel. And it just went exactly where it needed to go for everything, character wise, story wise, all of it. It was great. So I really enjoyed it. If you did check out this movie, please let me know below. This movie is part of the 31 Days of Low Grade Horror, so make sure you're checking us out Fridays at 7 on YouTube at the Low Grades, and then also you can follow us on Instagram. I have been posting about the movies for 31 Days of Low Grade Horror on there. And so yeah, if you check this one out, tag us, post it, and let me know your thoughts. Because again, I really enjoyed the movie, and I hope others did. But I'd be curious to get those different opinions. But yeah, Black Phone 2, go check it out. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna go with 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it. So till next time, Comic Raider is out. Deuces.